everybody, and welcome to another episode of I Hate Your Taste in Movies. This is a movie podcast where we force our friends to watch movies we love and listen to them, rip them apart. I'm Jackie.
I'm Jen.
I'm Austin.
And today we are doing a Jen pick, which automatically makes me very concerned. Jen, why don't you tell us what we're watching?
So this week we're getting some historical horror knowledge, giving you guys an iconic genre-defining film. That's me sounding pretentious. But we watched Night of the Living Dead. So what did you guys, neither of you had seen this before, right?
Yeah,
That's
no,
correct.
I've never seen it.
Did you know anything about it? Like, did you write a synopsis? Did you have an idea of what the plot was going to be?
Yeah.
I wrote a synopsis.
I'm guessing I probably knew more than Jackie about this,
Yep.
but do you want to go first, Jackie?
Okay. I wrote, what is this? It turned out I didn't have any idea of plot, so I said, zombies, slow shufflers, a chainsaw, question mark? It's a classic zombie movie. Something from space makes the dead reanimate.
Oh, interesting.
Wow, interesting.
I think I confused the chainsaw. That's another zombie movie, right?
Evil Dead.
Yeah, that's the one. Okay, great.
Yeah.
But I knew some kind of space thing made zombies. I didn't know anything about the actual plot, though, where it took place, who the stars were, what the main obstacle was. So, it was an attempt.
Well, I'm surprised you got the space element into it.
Yeah, same.
That's a deep cut.
Right? I don't know why I know that.
My synopsis was group of strangers come across each other, hide away in an abandoned farmhouse as they try to survive a zombie attack. So
Wow.
then I said they turn on each other eventually. And then as I was writing this, I think I started to remember that I knew more about it. And I said, is this the movie where someone almost survives but gets shot down by the police by being mistaken for a zombie? So kind of thought I knew more about it than I did. Or knew more about it than I thought. That's what I meant to say. I'm off to a great start today, guys.
Austin is drunk. Hey, Austin, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a Diet Pepsi today, Jackie. It's not very exciting.
What?
Damn it, I was
Where's
really hoping.
Where's the Moscow Mule?
Maybe I'll drink one when I finally get my dinner.
You're like, we're pausing this right now. I'm making a drink.
But yeah, so I think as the movie went on, I think I remembered that I knew more about it than initially I thought.
Yeah,
Okay.
I realized that I knew less about it than I thought. Nothing happened like I was expecting in this movie, which was, pretty great. But I was really surprised by a lot of it.
But if we combined both your guys' synopsises, we would have the whole movie. Jackie had the alien space artifact causing the dead to come back to life. Austin had the people hiding at the farmhouse. All together, you knew it.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Right.
not the most complicated of movies.
No, and this is where I get to be my fun, pretentious self and talk about zombie lore for a minute.
Oh,
but
boy.
basically,
Please.
Here we go.
Do you remember my monologue about Bob Fosse? Now it's your turn.
yes, you've got Fosse, I've got zombies, we're all good. But basically, like you were saying, it's not the most complicated zombie plot. This is kind of just because this is the first. This is what started the modern zombie films. So previously, zombies were kind of known as something entirely different. So it was based on Haitian folklore and voodoo. And the idea was kind of that a witch doctor would steal your soul and you as the person would kind of become a zombie and you would be forced into labor and continued slavery even after you had died. That was sort of the fear of the zombie. And then with this movie, they kind of were what if we had a different creature that people should be afraid of, and it's the dead coming back to life en masse as a horde to eat you, and if they kill you, you turn into one of them. And then that is obviously what we all know zombies as, but had never been done until this movie. And now this is why we have zombies, and I love zombies.
It's wild to think about, because it's just... Yeah, anytime I was kind of well, that was a choice. I was but that was the first choice. Or everything that we've come to realize, or everything that we assume a zombie story to involve comes from this. So I kept having to kind of check myself on that.
It's hard to imagine a time when people didn't know what a zombie was. It's hard to imagine the reception this would have got in theaters. Oh, God. Terrifying. Now we're just yeah, zombies, whatever. We know. Crush the head. They're dead. It's fine. Barricade yourself in a farmhouse. Fine. But at the time, it was really, really unknown. I could see that being so scary in theaters.
Yeah, and it's just so crazy to me that they kind of just literally came up with this idea for the monster of the whatever this version of zombies was. They don't even use the word zombies in the movie. They use ghoul, as Jackie noted with her username, Nick Ghoulis Cage.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's just crazy to me that they just came up with this idea of like, this is what the scary monster is going to be. And it is just so ingrained in pop culture now. Like there's zombie movies every year. There's zombie books. There's zombie TV shows. Toronto, we used to have the zombie walk every year. People would get dressed up as zombies and walk around downtown. I did it a bunch of times. Like
I did a zombie run where you dress up as like medical professionals and run through and do a 5K and zombies rip your flag off. And if you end with no flags, you've been eaten.
That's amazing.
Did you get eaten?
It was really fun. I guess sure got eaten. There was a bunch of these little shitty kids who were running around like crazy, just ripping everyone's flags off. So they kind of ruined it.
So do you become a zombie after you get eaten?
Well, you get a different medal depending on your flag status. And yeah, if you wanted to, you could go back out and be a zombie. But eventually there would be too many zombies and everyone would just be like, I can't even run. There's too many people in the course.
I would be terrible at that, but that sounds like a great time.
Yeah, it sounds really fun.
It was a good time.
Jen, why don't you tell us about your love for this movie?
So, I was actually thinking about this, and I think my love is more for zombies in general. I love zombies, as I said earlier. I genuinely do. Like, if I want to have a good time, I'll just put on a random zombie movie. Like, in the past few weeks, like, I've watched a zombie movie and a zombie TV show, like, just for fun, as I'm working from home during the pandemic. I'm just watching all kinds of zombie shit. And, so I can pinpoint other movies that are my favorite zombie movies. I can pinpoint other ones that are the first ones I ever saw. But this one is just the first one that ever existed, and it created this whole genre. So it's like, it's more of like I have this appreciation for this film more than a personal love. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Yep, got it. For sure, that makes so much sense.
Yes, and I need you guys to watch it so that then you will have this foundational layer for the next round of zombie movies I make you watch eventually.
God, I hate this so much. Also, what is your favorite zombie movie, just for the record?
Oh my god. Okay, big question.
Unintended. Thought it would be easy.
I think probably 28 Days Later, but also Wreck.
Never seen it.
And then also Train to Busan.
Okay, so none of these are even things I even understand what you're saying. You're just saying a bunch of words.
Dawn of the Dead remake is also up there.
Okay, well, it sounds like you can't pick a favorite. So we'll just say all movies, all zombie movies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, great.
Are you a fan of The Walking Dead, or is that not your cup of tea?
So I watched the first couple seasons, and then I had to rage quit because I didn't care for it. I'd read some of the comics, and I gave up on that too. It's kind of just not for me. I don't enjoy it too much. And so, yeah, no, not a fan.
I like The Walking Dead, strangely. It took me a long time to start watching it because I was too afraid. I started it. In the first episode, there's a scene where the guy's escaping from the hospital and he has to go down a pitch black stairwell. And all you can hear is like his steps and his heavy breathing. And every time I watched it, I got way too scared and I had to turn it off. It took me like 3 or 4 attempts to get past that scene. But then I liked it.
Yeah, I watched it for a while. I remember in my last year of university, I took an American musicals course. This relates to The Walking Dead. Bear with me.
Yeah, I was waiting to hear how.
Yeah.
I'm still lost.
So in my musicals course, one of our projects was to like write a scene basically for a musical. And so we had to like compose our own music and we had to like film it. I don't know why I was doing this in university. Like thinking back, this feels like a very like grade 6 project to do, but it is what it is. And so my group, we did a Walking Dead the musical.
I would watch that.
I would also watch that.
It was like the opening scene. It was good. It was good.
Nice. Okay, great. So let's actually talk about this movie. I had no idea it was going to be black and white first right off the bat. I was like, oh, right. This is hella old.
Yeah. 1968, right?
Yeah, 68. So there is also a colorized version. So later on, they went back and recolored it. So you could have watched it in color. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, they chose to film it in black and white because it was so low budget and everything would look a lot shittier if you could see the color.
I can imagine. I did read that they had the option, like halfway through, they figured out that they could go back if they wanted to and refilm it in color, and they just decided against it because it why would, because it was so low budget. And I don't remember what the circumstances of that was, but I did come across that in my research today. But yeah, I can imagine it not being great in color.
Yeah, like I think for the like zombies themselves, sometimes you can tell the makeup is just that they have like black circles around their eyes and nothing else. But in black and white, it looks really creepy. They look kind of like pale and dark. But if it was in color, it would just be like me with my regular dark circles under my eyes. Like
it's all of us, Jen.
So-
it's a pandemic. Nobody's got no black circles.
Yeah, I'm not putting on any concealer these days.
So it really launched right into some crazy music. Like just over the opening scene, which was like such an extended shot of just the car coming up the way. I clocked it pretty quick that I'm like, I think the music is going to be my favorite part of this movie. And what I find even more funny about that is that in general, I thought the music choices were so strange because sometimes there would be music over nothing really happening. And then the fight scenes or like when they'd be struggling with a zombie or whatever would be silent and you would just hear like the leaves shuffling or like the sound of like a punch. And so it was just like, and there'd be no music. So I thought that was really strange. But I guess all the music was from the public domain. So they didn't have a score, an individual score. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of funny to note.
It's not. I noticed that too, though. I was really weirded out sometimes. I'm like, why is there absolutely no music and basically complete silence where they're hacking at zombie hands coming through a door and there's no sound. No one's screaming, no one's grunting or struggling. It was just, I'm like, is that a choice or was that just because it was so low budget?
Yeah, no, it was jarring for me.
I don't know if it was a choice or a budget thing. I don't know. It's always fun when we do these things and it's people who haven't seen it before because they pick up on stuff that you don't even notice anymore. Like as you're describing it, I was trying to think, I'm like, yeah, I guess there was some random silent scenes versus some loud music scenes. Like I didn't absorb that.
Yeah, I would say like maybe it's because the music was just from the public domain and they didn't have anyone composing the music for the movie. So it wasn't like matched to the movie specifically. So they just kind of did the best they could. I don't know if that was the case or if it was more of a deliberate choice. But yeah, there'd be points where, like Jackie said, like nothing of note was really happening. And there'd be like this wild and crazy music. And then, yeah, they'd be fighting and it'd be dead silent. So, I mean, I'm not mad about it one way or the other. I enjoyed it. I just thought it was funny.
It is funny, though, the things that stand out to you because it was so weird. It's so, again, because it made the genre, it started everything. It's weird because now it's so formulaic. You know exactly what to expect and exactly the tense kind of music that's going to be in each kind of scene. So this was writing the rules so it didn't have to abide by any rules.
Yeah.
Look at me sounding so smart. Immediately, the first like 5 seconds of this movie, I wanted Johnny to die. I'm like, ugh, Johnny, you're so annoying. But for the longest time, I couldn't figure out if he was her brother or her husband.
Me neither. I did not know he was her brother until embarrassingly late in the game.
Right?
Well, in that conversation at the cemetery, he does say, like, I think mother wants us to do this to put on father's grave or something. Like, they refer to it as, like, their parents, but I guess it could be that he's saying mother meaning his mother, not hers.
Or even like how old-timey people talk about their in-laws, right?
Yeah, that was kind of how I had interpreted it. But, I mean, makes sense. But then I was a little, I was confused whenever he was talking about like their childhood. So I was like, oh, maybe they've just known each other all their lives. I don't know why I didn't make the connection that they were siblings.
No, I thought that too. I'm like, maybe they just grew up together, and then got married.
Wait, when he's like, remember when we were here and like grandfather yelled at us, you guys are just like, oh, what a lovely married couple.
Still, yeah. Honestly, I didn't know for sure until her like comatose monologue in the house. And then she said brother, and I was like, okay, brother. We got it. We got confirmation. It's a brother.
I'm so glad Jackie and I are on the same page with that.
The same incestuous page.
Like, idiot page is what it is. People who don't understand relationships. But I was really unsure about how this movie was going to go. Right in the beginning, I kept expecting a jump scare, I guess. Like at one point, Johnny leans over the grave and I'm like, a hand is coming up out of the ground. It's going to grab his tie and like strangle him. Mm-hmm. So I think I was so amped up in the beginning, expecting so much. And then when I realized that the guy in the suit walking down the path was the zombie, I was like, oh, okay, well, this isn't going to be so scary. It's just a guy in a suit.
The weird thing about that to me was That actually creeped me out, the very first shot of the zombie in the background, because he's like a pretty safe distance away. But it creeped me out. And then, much to my surprise, that was the scene, that moment. I had a hard time falling asleep last night because that was popping up into my head. And it's like, that's not that scary objectively, like in comparison to other movies that I've seen. Like, it's not that scary, but it definitely stuck with me more than I expected it to.
Interesting. I wonder if it was
Oh,
the music or
cool.
something.
Maybe.
What did you think about the zombies themselves?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, Jen,
Oh,
because
yes.
I know that these zombies, they had a little bit of the zombie shuffle, and I mean, they're figuring out what a zombie walk is, right? Like, they
Mhm.
kind of set the pace for that. But I was surprised to see them so limber.
Yeah.
And so I guess, do you know anything about kind of the development of that? Like, it's not the typical zombie that we're used to seeing now, I guess.
So I think basically everyone has kind of their own interpretation of what a zombie can do. So like sometimes they run, sometimes they're slow walkers, sometimes they like can speak or verbalize, and sometimes they can't. And then I think I don't know. I don't know if I can pinpoint exactly when a zombie becomes a zombie because, like I said, everyone has their own version of what a zombie is like. Like earlier, I said 28 Days Later is one of my favorite zombie movies. People will say that they're not really zombies, and I'm
Really?
like, yeah, because they are infected by a rage virus, so it's not that they're
Oh.
dead and come back to life.
Interesting. Gotcha.
But I'm like, if one of them's chasing you, you're calling it a zombie. So
Right.
Well, see,
don't
this
be
is the
pedantic.
thing, is that the only like morsel of comfort that you have in the idea of a zombie apocalypse is that you could maybe outrun one, but I don't like this idea that they can catch up with me.
Yeah, so I do.
Changes things.
What about the
Yeah.
fact that these zombies can use tools? I really
That's
didn't like
exactly
that.
what I was gonna say. The fact that these zombies like have some sort of motor skills, like can pick up rocks and smash your window, like that's
and-
scary.
Yeah,
Go
use
to
a
open
door
a car
handle.
door.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
No, that's very disconcerting. They should
Although
be
it kind of sorry, go ahead.
mindless. No,
Yeah.
that's all.
Agreed. Well, it just reminded me of Zombieland Double Tap there when they're like breaking down, or is it the first Zombieland? Either way, when they're breaking down the different types of zombies and then they're all shocked when there's like a super fast one. Don't like it. Don't like it.
Yeah, some purists don't believe in fast zombies, but I love a fast zombie.
They're scarier. They're way scarier when they can run. Good Lord, 28 Days Later.
Yeah, when you like saw their makeup and stuff, like the first zombie that you see isn't very scary looking. Like he just looks like a dude who maybe had a rough night. So I think I was expecting more gore in the zombies themselves. There were some that were pretty gross, but
Yeah, the gore comes later, that's for sure. And it got gory.
Let's talk about that actually. What did you find gory? What was the gory part for you? Was it when they were eating the barbecue?
Yeah, and they showed them for like a 5-minute montage of a guy clearly eating a liver, a guy clearly eating intestines, a woman gnawing on a bone, which was kind of really funny because that was obviously not a human bone.
it was a roast ham, I believe.
Yeah, there's just clearly no bone that comes from a human body. But though I was imagining how gross it would be to be an extra doing that and like chomping down on that gross ass body part. Ugh. Did not
So
like.
for some reason, I always associate that scene with eating chicken wings. Like I just always want chicken wings when I watch
You
that.
want chicken wings?
I don't know
What
if
is
it's because
wrong
they
with
get like
you?
the sauce on like their hands and their face.
Oh!
It just reminds me of chicken wings. I don't
You're
know.
making me want to barf right now.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
Jen-
because you are also a vegetarian, so you never
Would you-
want chicken wings.
Would you eat chicken wings and watch that scene with sauce all over your face?
I mean, yeah.
Oh, God.
I'm assuming you know what they used for blood in this movie.
I believe it's chocolate sauce.
It's chocolate sauce. So they're eating
Ew.
roasted ham drenched in chocolate sauce, and
Yeah,
that makes
that's
you crave
disgusting.
chicken wings.
Here it
Well,
is.
I
Here's
would
the
never-
gag reflex. Coming.
I would
happening.
never eat ham covered in chocolate sauce, but when I see a zombie like gnawing down, it makes me think of chicken wings.
Okay, hold on. I just need to clarify something. Does it make you think about chicken wings, or does it make you want to eat chicken wings?
It makes me think about chicken wings, and then when I think about chicken wings, I want to eat them. Like we're talking about them right now, and I'm like, I should order some wings.
God.
Oh my god.
That is the worst thing I've ever heard. I really
I don't
didn't
know
expect
what
to say that. Wow.
I don't know what to do with this information.
It's too much. I don't want to know this because I have the opposite reaction. I saw this and I was like, well, I guess no more pasta, and I pushed it away. Ugh, oh boy, wow. Jen,
I think we just have different gross out levels.
It would appear.
I don't even know what to say. It would appear so. Yeah,
either.
mine's the level of a normal human being. I guess that's what it is. Yours is just not.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's just because you deal with like real life gore.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, Jackie.
Wow. Okay, Jen.
Giving me shit because I can watch zombies eat ham and not get grossed out. But you like cut open real bodies and then go for lunch.
You know, that's true. I could tell you gross stories about eating in the OR, but I will not. That's for another podcast. But yeah, I guess what surprised me the most about that scene where they were eating the body parts was that up until that point, they kept saying that they devoured flesh, but it was really an abstract concept. And then it was, boom, in your face. They're actually gnawing on what is recognizably a liver. It was a lot.
Yeah. The gore in general didn't bother me too much. It was campy enough, I guess, like not realistic enough that it didn't really bother me. I mean, I didn't love it, but I was okay with it. But I did, Jackie, you mentioned how, they were talking about the flesh eating and all this, and it's, I guess, like they had to brainstorm like what would be the scariest thing that these monsters could do, and they settled on cannibalism. So it's just like again, like a weird thing to think that wasn't a thing beforehand, because that's like the first thing you think of with a zombie is like they eat your flesh. Yeah, or they eat your brains.
Yeah, like they made really interesting choices, and it's true, it's the grossest thing that you can imagine something doing.
Yeah, but it's just crazy for me to think that that's where it started, and I guess that was kind of what I was getting at. I don't have a lot of intelligent things to contribute to this conversation today, so I'm just here for the ride.
It's going to be, and it should be, the Jenn show, because she knows the most about this, and
take it away.
Right? Like, educate me. I don't know anything.
I mean, I tried to talk about chicken wings, and you guys like booed me off stage. So,
okay, let's not check the friendometer for a little while. Let's get back to being friends.
We'll save the friendometer for the end. Anyways, as we were talking about cannibalism, one thing I noticed watching this time is whenever they were having the newscasters be the one who says, like, reports are coming in that they're eating the flesh of their victims, I kept thinking, like, wouldn't the news report it like that?
Yeah, the reporter seems so casual. An epidemic of murder where they are devouring the flesh of their victims. And then he just keeps going like it's a traffic report.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, we just got this in. It sounds unbelievable, but apparently it's true. They are eating their victims. And I
kept waiting for an attack on the news station.
Me too! Totally. I'm like, at the background, I'm like, there's a zombie back there. I can just tell. He's coming through. But it never happened.
Yeah, especially when they were kind of interviewing the politicians after they left the Pentagon for that meeting about the space whatever. There's sort of the news people following them on the street into a car. And I was like, where are the zombies here? Like, they said it's happening on, like, the eastern third of the United States. That would include Washington.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question.
Yes.
How long is this epidemic of murder? How long has this been going on? Is it just a night? Because I kind of assumed it was just, Night of the Living Dead. But then they were interviewing, like, the news people were interviewing the politicians and stuff. So I wasn't sure. Like, how long has this been happening?
So I believe it started that night.
Okay. So then why would they have footage of that interview? Because I would assume that interview took place during the daytime.
Interesting.
But it is night.
It was getting dark at 8 p.m. when they got to the cemetery.
Yeah.
So you're right. How would they have talked to politicians in the daytime? Interesting. Unless it was, maybe they were actually on the West Coast, and I don't know how time zones work. Maybe it's still daylight over there.
Yeah, that would make a lot more sense. Because I was going to say, like, oh, it's just a different time zone. But then I'm like, nope, that doesn't make any sense.
Maybe they, like, relocated the government when they realized what was happening.
Yeah, because that's also what I was thinking earlier when there was no attack on them. And I assumed they were in Washington because I thought they said the Pentagon. But maybe they just meant people from the Pentagon are having this meeting in LA because they wanted to escape the zombies.
Right. That was the first order of business. Protect the higher up politicians.
Yeah. So that's my new explanation for that. That's now what happened.
All right. Sorry to throw a wrench in that.
No, it's You're totally right. And like I totally recognized when watching that, yeah, that's daytime in Washington and that's weird that there's no zombies there. But I never actually like articulated that makes no sense.
Also, for what it's worth, given that she is talking about how the first day of summer should be when the time change happens, we can deduce that this takes place on April 28th, 1968. That's when the clocks changed. Yep, that's when the clocks changed that year.
All right, well, I was going to say, maybe we should talk about the characters.
Yeah, I was just going to say, can we talk about Barbara for a bit?
Barbara sucks.
She's the fucking worst.
She is the fucking worst. She's so useless. She's so boring and comatose. Her little monologue about Johnny is so ridiculous. And when Ben punched her in the face, I was like, yeah, that was the right move. Every one of us wants to punch her in the face.
Yeah, I was like giving her the benefit of the doubt for the first 20 minutes, even like half hour. I was like, okay, she's gonna like spring into action anytime now. Like she's gonna have her big moment. And I guess she had it, but like not until the very end. And it lasted all of 30 seconds.
Yeah, and then she fucks it up because she's so stupid.
Well, she just instantly dies.
Yeah, she's like freezes.
I was really prepared to be angry because I was like, she's gonna survive, and Ben's gonna die, and she does not deserve to live over Ben. And I was real angry, and then she died, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'm okay with that.
I'm okay. I actually thought that she was becoming a zombie because when they showed that blood dripping from the woman upstairs, I thought that got on her skin, and then I thought she was slowly turning into a zombie. And then when Mrs. Cooper lit her cigarette and she stared at the fire, I was like, oh yeah, zombies hate fire. This is when she's going to turn into a zombie. And then none of that happened, and I got real disappointed. I'm like, I know what's happening. I was so ready to be like, I'm so smart. Look at me knowing this movie. And then it was like, oh no, it's all in your head. You're crazy.
No, I love your predictions for movies.
They're always wrong.
But they would be really entertaining.
So yeah, I guess that blood dripping was nothing. That never meant anything. I just
it was just meaning. Gross.
Okay.
That body also never becomes a zombie, so...
Totally. Was expecting that too, for sure.
Yeah, but that body also looked like it might have been dead a while.
Yeah, it was like a skeleton, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think maybe it wasn't a zombie, it was just a lady who had died in her house a while ago.
Yeah, that makes sense. Although, it's sad to think she was in this house for so long and no one noticed.
But why would that, exclude her from... Is it just, like, recent dead people?
I believe so, because like we said, we didn't see bodies coming out of their graves at the cemetery. It wasn't like everyone is reanimated.
Well, that's interesting. They did mention it on the broadcast, that it's the unburied dead. But then you got to wonder if the buried dead are alive, but they're just trapped.
Like squirming down there?
Yeah, which would honestly really suck.
Sucks so bad, especially since they are capable of some kind of higher reasoning. So maybe they realize what's happening, which is a nightmare. But also,
or maybe they're slowly trying to get out. They're just not out in time.
Yeah, like in the next couple of weeks, that's when they all come out of the ground again. Like, fuck, not this again.
Second wave.
Get the posse. Let's go.
So, Jen, what do you think of Barbara?
Oh, she absolutely sucks.
Okay, good.
She's really frustrating to watch because, like you said, you do want her to kind of get it together and be useful. I do think it makes sense that not everyone is going to spring into action when disaster strikes. There are people who are probably going to go into shock and be catatonic and useless. So I don't think it's like an unrealistic choice, but it's just really, really annoying and frustrating. And I'm also glad that she does not survive. And I think it's also like when you juxtapose her with Ben, who is like the smart, resourceful, level-headed hero, you're just like, this is who everyone wants to be in a crisis. Like, you think you're going to be the Ben, but some of us, we might be the Barbaras.
You're the Barbara.
That's so true. But also, do you think that's how they expected women in the 60s to react to adversity?
See, that's a hard too, because, like, I don't want to say yes, because there are other women in the movie who are a little more useful, like, slightly. But then also at the same time, it's like, yeah, maybe they just really didn't expect too much from us.
Well, honestly, I don't find any of the women useful. Judy...
Yeah, but they're better than Barbara.
Yeah, I was like, Judy tries.
She does what she's told. I guess that's what you expect from a woman in 1968.
Yeah.
I like Mrs. Cooper a little because at least she backtalks a bit, but in the end, she doesn't really do anything.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Barbara was rough. It doesn't make, like you said, Jen, it is realistic. Like, there would probably be lots of people like that, but it doesn't exactly make for a very a character you can really get invested in.
So there was a remake of this movie in 1990, and it's one of those like direct remakes. It's not like one of the 8 million sequels.
Like a
And
Psycho style remake, or
yeah, more close to Psycho. What that they change is that they change the character of Barbara because it's the 90s. So instead of having her be useless, they kind of have her be like, I'm the kick-ass hero lady. Give me the gun. I'm gonna survive.
nice.
And people also hated that because it's just really, I don't know, it changes a lot of the movie, and it just felt really trying too hard to be like, it's the 90s, so ladies do things now. You know what I mean? Like, it just didn't feel
Yeah.
as natural. Like,
That's
she wasn't
pandering.
a real character.
I feel like there could have been a medium ground on that. You know?
Exactly. There could have been a way to update Barbara and have her be a more interesting character without then kind of having her become the hero who survives and like takes over a lot of the lead action from Ben and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, leave Ben as is. Ben's cool.
Yeah.
Although, Ben's got problems too.
Yeah, shall we move on to Ben?
Yeah, let's talk Ben.
Sorry. Ben is the hero. Love Ben. Love his attitude. And then he straight up murders Mr. Cooper.
Yeah.
I was like, that was unexpected. He took the gun, he paused, hesitated, thought it through, shot him.
Because he knew that Mr. Cooper was gonna, like,
That's
feed
not
him to
hero
the zombies.
behavior.
I mean,
I understand, but I think also at that point, Mr. Cooper had proven time and again that if he will get Ben killed, he will.
yeah,
let
like he was
die.
about to shoot him.
Yeah.
That's fair,
And
but
then-
the hero doesn't shoot an unarmed man.
He didn't kill him, though. Well, I guess he did, didn't he? Never
I mean,
mind.
he
I
shot
thought he
him.
survived for a little while.
He survived, but then his daughter ate him,
Yeah,
and that
so
was what
Ben-
really killed him.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's blameless.
Loopholes.
You're right.
Can we discuss briefly, just since you mentioned Mr. Cooper, can we have the cellar versus upstairs debate? Like, what do we think would have been the better option?
I don't even understand what they were thinking. Obviously, you have the cellar as a fallback spot when the house gets breached. Fine.
Yeah.
Stock it, whatever. But, like, why would you... I don't understand why he thought the cellar was so much safer. Sure, there's one door, but there's no way out. You die down there.
Yeah, and he kept being like, oh, but these windows aren't even reinforced well enough. And it's like, well, if they're getting into the house, then they're getting into the cellar.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, they were so... it was such a weird fight that went on for so long about whether they should go into the basement or not. And I'm like, why don't you guys just kind of face the problem that's right now? Get a plan in place, and then, that can be step 2.
And I think that's kind of the point, and that's kind of what so much zombie lore becomes later on in zombie stories. It's always like the people and the group you're with and the infighting is what gets you killed kind of thing, because they spent so much time arguing over which was the better spot to hide out. They didn't reinforce the windows and doors like they could have,
And it was cold to realize that they were in the basement the whole time.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Cooper even says it. He's like, what? I'm safe. You think I should risk myself just because someone's in trouble? And Ben's like, yeah. Like, clearly, that's what you're supposed to do. We're all human beings.
Yeah, and just even before that, when you're watching Ben go around by himself, because again, Barbara's useless, just hammering all these windows, all these doors, setting up all these traps, all these plans, and then there's 5 people in the basement just listening, being like, okay, he's got that covered, so we have an extra level of reinforcement for us.
It's true. Sorry that I took us away from talking about Ben.
No. I just had another thought when we were talking about the cellar versus the upstairs, where I'm like, wait a minute, did they lock themselves in the cellar but not even lock the doors to the farmhouse?
Well, actually, that's an interesting point, because I don't know how Barbara got into the farmhouse. They don't show which door she goes in. She tries a door, it's locked. She tries another door, it's locked. And then all of a sudden she's in.
So I guess they just went in and just went straight to a cellar.
Or she broke a window or something.
Yeah.
No idea.
Either way, they didn't do a very good job.
Yeah,
I know. They're just like, once we're underground, everything's fine.
I guess you could also argue, though, that it seems like she brought the zombies there. I mean...
Yeah, that's true.
There didn't seem to be any around before she got there.
That's true. Very good point.
but then why were they all hiding in the cellar if there were no zombies around? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they did say that the zombies chased them from their car that they overturned.
Yeah.
So they probably saw at least the direction they went.
Yeah, and I think we see too that some of the zombies end up wandering off by the next morning. So I think maybe some zombies had followed them and they were like, oh, well, we can't get down to the cellar. Let's wander off.
Sorry, it's just really funny to think they'd be like, ugh, well, that's too much work.
Yeah.
It's over
Opening
there.
a door? Ugh. All right, I'm out.
Yep, they win this round. Better go walk into that pasture. Immediately, the first time Mr. Cooper said anything, I was like, I hope this guy dies. He sucks.
Yeah, he sucks. He's just so, like... And again, we've seen this character in, like, every zombie movie. There's always the obnoxious asshole who ruins everyone's plans. So, like, you know it all comes from Mr. Cooper, but, like, fuck is he an obnoxious asshole that ruins everyone's plans?
Every time. He's just the worst. Like, he has all these moments where you're just like, oh, he's the worst. Oh, no, this is worse. Oh, he's done something even worse. There's no basement to how terrible he is. And then, obviously, culminating in friggin' locking Ben outside with a horde of zombies.
Yeah. So, I mean, Ben, I see why you shot him.
I see why you would want to shoot him, but you're the hero, Ben. We're supposed to hold you up to a higher standard, Ben.
It was for the greater good, though, because if Mr. Cooper's gonna fuck around and kill Ben at any opportunity, then, I mean, Ben is the one that's basically protecting everyone at this point. You know? It's just, he's too much of a liability. Can't fault him for that.
I'm gonna have to just say I can fault him for that. He's not judge, jury, and executioner. That shouldn't be the way it is. Just because people are
Well, I mean, fair
potential
enough,
liabilities, you don't murder them. And even if, I mean, zombie apocalypse, it's understandable to a degree where you could be like, you know, it was the apocalypse. Who knew what was really going on? Decisions were made in the heat of the moment, but it's never really
he
okay.
Just left
Like
him
he
outside to the zombies.
Yeah, like he's not excusing what he did, but I don't think that it justifies him shooting him. It's not hero behavior, specifically. He's the hero, right? You want to have this shining example. Maybe that's the point of the movie, because it certainly is not a happy ending. Maybe the point is that we're all fucked forever, but I just didn't like it. I thought it was really cold and calculated and didn't seem to be part of Ben's character when he's going through everything to try and help people.
I do love this too, because Jackie, you're such like an action movie fan, and they always have like the big amazing hero that you're like, no, the hero does X, Y, and Z, not anything else.
Yes,
I'm flashing back to our detailed conversations of The Rock and her like staunch defense of Ed Harris. So
yeah,
it's just
I understood Ed Harris more than I understood Ben shooting Mr. Cooper.
But also, Ed Harris was the villain. He wasn't the hero. If Nicolas Cage had shot someone, maybe she'd be like, he's terrible. The hero doesn't do this.
Clearly, in any of the movies I've ever made you guys watch, does the hero shoot an unarmed person after considering it and then shooting them? No, that is the mark of a villain. That's it.
We'll just have to agree to disagree on this. I think Ben was in the right. Because it's his life.
Yeah, let me hope that I'm never in an end of the world situation with Austin. Because she is cold-blooded.
Well, if you try to kill me 2 times beforehand, then...
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean...
If he hadn't shot Mr. Cooper, but instead had, like, thrown him outside to the zombies, would you think that was better or worse?
Worse.
Better.
Interesting.
I mean, theoretically, with these zombies, there is the opportunity to run. Barbara proved that. I mean, they'll follow you, but you can still run away from them. And there's a shot that he'll survive. And it's like, it's out of my hands now. You made your bed. You figure out the consequences. Or even if she had just pushed him aside and gone into the cellar and locked the door, I still would have been like, that makes more sense to me from a moral standpoint. It's a gray area, but at least you're giving him an opportunity to live with the consequences of his actions.
Okay. The morality of Ben. Okay, good to know.
It's in question.
I guess. I guess it's worth talking about how this is probably one of the first movies to feature a black man as the lead role, especially in a horror movie. So that's cool. And I guess the role, and the role wasn't written with any race in mind, supposedly. So, I mean, it wasn't like token casting from everything I could tell.
So Romero has said that he didn't intentionally write it for a black person, and that the actor, I believe his name is Dwayne Jones, was just the best person at the audition, which, like, on the one hand, I totally buy. I do think he's a good actor. Like, I think he does a good job in the movie. So I'm totally fine with that explanation. But then at the same time, obviously this is a huge deal. This is, like you said, this is one of the first horror movies with a black man as, like, the hero. And obviously 1968 in America, there's a lot of racial tension. That is the year that, sorry, let me check my notes. Yeah, the year that Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. There was race riots and Civil Rights Act being passed. So the fact that he did this, even if he says it wasn't his intention, once you decide you're casting a black man as a hero and then having him shot by the police at the end, like, you're making a statement.
Yep. I was going to say, was the ending written before a black man was cast or after? That's what I'm interested in, because it seems like a very strong statement.
I don't know for sure. I know the character was rewritten a bit after the casting, just based on the actor's demeanor. So it's possible that they changed a bit of the ending at that point, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I definitely did read a little bit about some of the not really fan theories. I mean, it's pretty blatant in the movie. It's not, you don't have to dig very deep to get the significance of him being shot in the head by the police, but whether or not the policeman actually thought he was a zombie or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually rewatched just the ending scene earlier to try to kind of see like how much of Ben you see through the window when they shoot him, and you can make out that there's a man standing there holding a gun. So I'm like, on the one hand, that should tell you that he's not a zombie.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely. I had the exact same thought. I'm like, he's clearly holding a gun.
Yeah, and I mean, we do see the zombies holding things like rocks or shovels, but I don't think we
that's
see them
interesting.
pointing rifles at any point. So I'm on the side where I think the cops don't care that he's not a zombie.
Interesting.
I guess so, yeah. They just kind of like, we're cleaning up whatever we see. It's shoot first, ask questions later, and they don't really care. They notice that he's a black guy, and that probably makes them care even less, which is awful.
Yeah, it's very timely still.
Yeah, and the fact that it's like a rednecky kind of group of dudes with guns. Every time they show on the news a clip of them all walking around, I was feeling very uncomfortable. Like, this is terrifying. Just a horde of angry white men with guns, and they're all pointing them like straight ahead or at each other. I'm just like, this is awful.
Yeah.
Don't want to see this.
Yeah. Well, from my summary, like I guess I remembered hearing about the ending for this movie, but I think I thought it was going to be less personal, I guess. Like I think I thought he maybe made it further out of the house and was just kind of wandering in the field or whatever, and then got shot from afar. I didn't realize it was going to be so up close and so I don't know, just so brutal.
It would make a lot of sense if he was kind of staggering and looking in shock.
Yeah.
And then you could kind of think that he was a zombie, but it seemed pretty clear by the way he was acting that he was human.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a really bleak ending too, because after that they kind of pull out his body to add him to the pile of bodies of zombies that they're burning.
The images that are over the credits, those were brutal.
That was awful. They really zoomed in on those hooks a lot. I didn't like that at all. Whoosh.
Yeah, and I kept thinking too, like at that point they probably know Ben wasn't a zombie, right? Like they're pulling out a fresh, warm body with blood pouring out of it, and not, some white and gray, decaying kind of creature. But they don't seem to treat his body in any different way. So that's also why I kind of lean towards they don't really care.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
That's fair. I guess I could make the argument of we don't know what's like some of the more recent, like Johnny. We don't know, like he had just recently died, so would he be, would he still be warm? So we don't.
That is a good point.
We don't necessarily know what, and I mean they don't know.
Well, what's to say they even touched his body, right?
Yeah.
They just.
I just think it's an interesting discussion.
Sure.
Because it's definitely worth. I mean, there's definitely some validity to any way to read it.
What about Tom?
Who's that again?
Tom and Judy. Apparently, Tom and Judy are supposed to be teenagers, which makes me laugh so hard because Tom is 43.
So I'm just going to say my favorite thing about Tom is when he's like, they need me to drive the truck because I know the pump. Ben doesn't know anything about that stuff. And then they get to the pump and he just sprays gasoline everywhere all over the fire.
Yeah.
Onto a torch.
Yeah. I thought you knew the pump, Tom.
Fucking Tom. And Judy, why is Judy the most useless too? She's like, I'm going with them, but for no reason except to ride shotgun?
Yeah, to just get killed.
She never gets out of the car. She never tries to help. She's just a complete liability. It's like, fucking
I was
Judy.
really confused when the truck caught on fire, honestly. Like, I mean, I understood that he just doused it in gasoline and that's not going to go well. But it's like, well, why aren't they, like, getting out? Why is she frozen? Get out of the truck. And then it blew up, so...
Yeah, she should have jumped and rolled at any point.
Yeah. She says her jacket is caught, and I'm like, then take off the jacket, Judy.
I thought I maybe misheard something. I was like, I think she said something was stuck, but I'm just gonna go with what the fuck, Judy.
Yeah, but also if you know your truck's on fire and you're driving it to get away from the pump, shouldn't you be like preparing yourself to jump out / run at the earliest opportunity? You should be checking your coat or taking off your coat and then jumping out.
So I also had a really upsetting thought about the aftermath of this, because that's when we see them all, devouring their body parts and all that fun stuff.
Dinner time. Yep.
Okay, but come along with me on this journey.
Am I
Gladly.
going to want to?
Did they eat
Here we
their
go.
brains or do anything to their brains? Because if they didn't, are we to imagine that their like torsos would reanimate? Or like,
Yes,
you know,
the scientist
right?
said that, right? He said
Exactly,
that the torso. Yeah.
So like they had to be efficient. Like, were they eating their brains? Because if they didn't, are we just getting like a little head, scooting around? See what I'm saying?
Scooting.
I see what you're saying.
These are the thoughts that were upsetting me last night.
I don't know if we saw that the zombies were eating their brains, but you did see that the zombies were kind of very efficient, waiting in line so they could each grab a piece of barbecue from the car. So I do think they were able to get them all.
Okay.
Yeah, there must be a point of no return when so much flesh is gone that they can't get any more, right? There's just, like the desiccated old lady, there must be a point where they can't be brought back anymore, right?
Yeah.
All right.
With no liver.
I like that the liver is what got to you.
It was just so clearly a liver.
I think you're right. It was like they just chowed down.
But it's funny too because it was obviously a very small liver. It was not a human-sized liver. But it's fine. It's fine. I don't expect them to eat a real human liver. That would be very weird.
Yeah, where would you get one?
Jackie's job.
I could get you a liver.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I can get you a liver. Talk to me later. Let's talk about livers. But again, let's just go back to Tom and Judy exploding.
Mm-hmm.
I still didn't know what was going to happen, so I was really surprised when the main characters started dying. I thought they would be kind of an all-night siege on the farmhouse, and then they'd all survive. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's a 60s movie, but I really thought everyone was going to live. So when they started dying, I was like, okay, so this is way different than I thought.
Oh, yeah. No one lived. I'm sorry, Jackie.
That's my last note. They all die? Question mark, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Like, every single one of them? I mean, I liked it.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often, does it? Or does it, Jen? I don't know.
I was actually just thinking that because I love a movie with no survivors. But then I'm like, that isn't super common. Usually there's at least one or two.
Yeah, usually at least one, right? You have that classic, like, the authorities find you end scene or walking off into the distance end scene, but...
Oh, Blair Witch.
Oh, yeah. Blair Witch, everyone dies.
Yeah, that movie keeps me up at night. Thanks, guys.
Side note, because we watched Blair Witch recently, do you guys want to go, like, hiking or, like, camping and do a seance?
No!
You ruined it for me. You ruined camping and the outdoors for me.
Do you guys want to go camping and do a seance in the woods?
You have terrible ideas. I want you to do it and film it, and then I'll find the footage a couple years later, and we'll see what happens.
have to come with.
No thanks.
No.
I'm out. Tapping out.
It would be so fun. We could record an episode in the woods.
Oh my god, you are so full of bad ideas.
Wow,
the episode of us in the woods would be, you would start talking, you'd say 3 words, I'd scream because I heard a branch break, repeat for 2 hours.
You're the one that likes hiking and camping.
I did until you made me watch The Blair Witch again. Now I can't go.
Technically, Austin made you. She's the one that picked it.
I regret nothing.
I was going to make you guys watch a different people die while hiking movie, so...
Oh, maybe that's better.
I went for the lesser of 2 evils, because we all know what happens.
Yeah, the devil you know. I'll take that one for sure.
All right.
Another thing I wanted just to quickly bring up was Karen being sick. I didn't even clue in for a while until they overtly said it, that she had been bit. Whew.
This was another part where I think I was remembering more about this movie. Now I'm like, have I seen this, or have I just listened to too many podcasts where they talk about it? I think it's the latter. So after the part on the radio where they talked about the family being killed, my brain clicked something together and was like, wait, is there a little girl? Does she become a zombie? She becomes a zombie. So I was remembering things that I didn't know I knew.
Yeah, it's possible you also were remembering, like, every zombie movie ever, where there's always, like, one person in the party who's sick or not feeling well or injured, and it's because they've been bitten and are slowly turning into a zombie.
Well, I mean, I appreciate that you say that, assuming that I've seen lots of zombie movies.
I really thought it was Barbara. I think that's why I was blind to Karen, is that I thought Barbara was turning into a zombie. So I was focusing on her. I was like, yeah, kid, sick, whatever, not important. Watch Barbara. She's going to eat somebody.
Nope, it was little Karen. So her face, her zombie face, is actually really famous, it became like the merchandise for this film, just like the little girl zombie face. So if you saw like a poster, you would probably recognize that. So maybe that is also how you knew there was a little girl zombie.
Oh.
Maybe. Yeah, no, but as soon as they were like, our daughter's hurt, I'm like, oh, she's definitely becoming a zombie.
It's funny how little she was in the movie, but then when she had scenes, they were very memorable.
Yeah, let's talk about that death scene there where with Mrs. Cooper.
Yeah. I mean, I was a little irritated by Mrs. Cooper because she just kind of very stupidly stands there and then trips herself and falls down and then lays down for like 3 minutes as Karen slowly walks towards her with a gardening trowel. I'm like, Mrs. Cooper, get up. You can stand up now. You've had multiple times where you could have gotten up and run, but she just lets it happen.
Yeah, probably could have beat the little kid zombie.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of the thought I was having too, but then I was like, I also have to keep in mind that this woman, like, this is her daughter who is now a zombie who just killed her husband. Like, I get that she's kind of, I don't know how to react in this situation. Whereas we, after like 100 years of zombie movies, know, like, okay, your daughter's a zombie. You have to get away and or kill her.
Yeah, no family ties anymore. Nothing matters. Gotta get out of here. That's the point of zombie movies. Forget all your relationships. Save yourself.
Kill or be killed.
Yeah. Well, she lets it happen, and you're right. She probably was just, I've definitely nothing to live for. Let go. Whatever. Let it happen. But that's a really vicious scene.
Yeah.
It was a lot. It was a lot of visual, a lot of stabby stab. Took a long time for her to die. A lot of crazy music.
A lot of chocolate sauce.
Yeah, I guess that was maybe the goriest scene in the movie. The barbecue was disgusting, but it wasn't. It's hard to say. I'm trying to say it wasn't violent. It was them desecrating a dead body and eating it. So the violence had already happened, but this was straight up in your face, physical, blood splatter violence.
I also didn't expect her to die by like being stabbed.
Again, yeah, zombies using tools. Terrifying.
Yeah, you'd think maybe the daughter just bites her or something, but no, she just full on was like, I'm here to kill my mother.
And yeah, I was like, why? I guess it makes sense to kill her and then eat her. But yeah, the way zombies are in modern day, it's like the eating is the primary goal, not the killing necessarily, right?
Yeah, but I guess it's more efficient, especially if you're a little kid. Like,
that's true.
It's going to take forever to eat her, so you might as well just kill her quick and then just chow down whenever you get hungry.
That makes sense.
And she's like all alone in the basement. It's like a all-you-can-eat buffet.
Yeah, party.
Yeah, and a little bit like a cooling box because it's cold down there. Although I guess she doesn't care about meat spoiling. Never mind. I also wrote a note. I'm like, this must have been really hard on this child actor. Wouldn't it mess your brain up a little bit to be like, okay, now pretend to eat your dad's arm and stab your mom?
I was thinking like this would be super fun for the child actors. That's super messed up.
There are two types of children. Those who would be scarred and then those who would have a great time.
It kind of makes sense with the adults we've become too. Because I'm like, I don't think I want to do that. And Austin's like, let me in! Chocolate sauce me! I guess we've all called the fact that Mr. and Mrs. Cooper would stand up and be a problem for Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, we like very classic. You think they're dead, but no, wait, they're just reanimating.
Although, were they really a problem? Like, he was just kind of like, all right, well, here we go. Boom, boom.
Yeah, kind of. It broke his brain a little bit, but he had already killed Mr. Cooper once, so he obviously didn't mind that much.
Yeah, and he's level-headed. He knows what he has to do. He's like, okay, they're all zombies. I gotta take this family out.
Bullet to the brain.
My question that I don't understand, that I guess we'll never understand, but if it's the radiation from a satellite that's making the dead rise up, why is it, like, wouldn't that be a one-time thing? Like, it would blanket the earth, zombies live, and then after those moments, it's faded? Like, does the radiation work that way where it's not like if it was a blanket covering the earth forever, then the dead would always reanimate and it would never stop? It was supposed to be short term, so why is it still happening with Mrs. and Mr. Cooper?
My understanding of it was that they proposed that as a solution or as a reason that this was happening, but it was never actually confirmed that that's what was happening.
Okay, yeah. I guess, like, I think it's the best guess. I think, and the way I understand it too is the scientist was trying to tell them that is the answer when they were doing that press conference in LA with the Pentagon officials. It seems like they were
assuming was LA.
Yeah. It seems like they're trying to quiet down the scientist, but he's like, yeah, no, that's what happened. And they're like, no, well, we don't have any proof. And he's like, no, it's what happened. Like the actual expert seemed to be confirming it, but the politician who's playing politician games didn't want to admit it. But I mean, again, that was an interpretation. I guess it could have been something else. But if it was the radiation, it doesn't really make that much sense, right? Like it's either happens once 1 minute or it keeps going for a long time, in which case the problem isn't over.
No, I was just going to add that the problem is not over because there are sequels.
Well, yeah.
But
also, if the problem is now, if the radiation or whatever is like in the zombies, then I mean, it's just a chain reaction, right? So I guess you don't really need the problem to still be happening. Once there are zombies, now there's just zombies.
Yeah, but it's just like, why did Mr. and Mrs. Cooper turn?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, oh yeah, because Mrs. Cooper wasn't eaten, right? Like Karen didn't eat her, did she?
Yeah, she was stabbed. Well, I guess you know what? Maybe she bit her after and we didn't see it.
Yeah, because I mean that's
that
all it would take, right? Like if you died by zombie, you're still gonna come back as a zombie, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense actually. Let's take that one as the answer of the day.
I mean, personally, I'm just less interested in how they become zombies. I'm just more interested in now that there are zombies.
Yeah. We always end up into this discussion. I'm always like, I have a question about this tiny detail. And you guys are like, shut up. Who cares? That is not the point of the movie.
It's totally fair, and I get it, because they do kind of offer an explanation. So I think it does make sense to go, does this explanation make sense for the movies? Is it something that's logical? Do I accept this as real or not? I'm just saying personally, like, I don't need a reason for there to be zombies. You just throw zombies down, and I'm in for the ride.
Also, I love that Ben's gun just never runs out of bullets. That's a very action movie trope, which I enjoy.
In that closet, he does find quite a lot of bullets.
Yeah, but he shoots Harry like 5 times, and then Mrs. Cooper like 3 times without reloading his gun.
All right, yeah.
Maybe there's bullets in the basement. I'm willing to give him a break.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
I just can't believe they shot that. I can't get over that. Really unexpected ending. Not what I thought was going to happen. Sad.
Very sad.
Yeah. Shit's dark.
Is there an accepted meaning behind this movie? Is it capitalism?
When in doubt, capitalism.
Zombies equal capitalism in my mind.
So that would be Dawn of the Dead. That's the next one. This one I think is more just racism, gentrification, a little bit about the Vietnam War.
Oh, how was it about the Vietnam War?
Just a lot of like at the time of the Vietnam War, it was a lot of news footage, like black and white reels of piles of bodies and things like that. So that's sort of what they're kind of invoking with a lot of the imagery in the movie.
Didn't get that one. It's creepy.
Yeah. Can I ask you guys a question?
Always.
Please.
What is your favorite zombie movie?
Out of the 2 that I've seen.
Oh, you're breaking my heart.
Ooh, I got mine. Shaun of the Dead.
Thank you.
Yes. 3 that I've seen.
Such a good one.
Okay.
Such a good one.
I've only seen this one, Shaun of the Dead, and Wreck with you. So
you haven't seen 28 Days Later?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, that's a good one. I'll even say that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
But also, Austin, you saw Zombieland. We saw the Zombieland one together.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that too. Well then, okay, so my favorite zombie movies are not horror movies. They're Shaun of the Dead and Zombieland.
Well, see, this is one of the things that I love about zombies, is that they can be any genre. Like, there's zombie action movies, there's zombie comedies, there's a zombie romance. Like, it could be anything.
Zombie romance?
Please tell me more about the zombie romance.
Have you heard of it? It's called Warm Bodies.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's sort of a YA, I believe it was a book before it became a movie, and it's kind of like a Romeo and Juliet via zombies.
Oh, God.
This is making me realize I really need to rewatch, or I need to watch Anna and the Apocalypse too.
Yes,
I feel like that one would probably end up on my list.
Oh, you know what I did enjoy, and very few people liked it, was Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Oh, yeah, I like that one.
It was okay.
Yeah, so I guess in general, like, zombies don't do anything for me. I wasn't looking forward to watching this movie, and not because I was going to be scared or didn't think it was going to be a good movie. I just was like, zombies. So I'm sorry, Jen.
It's fine.
I think I'm kind of the opposite. Of all the horror movies I would watch, I think I'd prefer the zombie ones.
I can see that, because there's a bit of, like, action, survivalist kind of stuff in a lot of zombie things, and it seems like something you'd be into.
I'm definitely drawn to the survivalist aspect, and I don't know if I've told you guys, but I have a recurring dream about fortifying a farmhouse for a zombie apocalypse. And
Oh,
I'm
no.
always working through the logistics of where I would put the moat and like the burn pit. I'd have a bulldozer. I'd have a room full of medicine, food in the basement, different sniper parts. It was like I have this. It's all about the planning. The zombies never end up coming. I know they're coming, but it's all about the planning. The weirdo dream.
Okay, this is another amazing question. What is your zombie apocalypse survival plan if you have one? Jackie clearly has a farmhouse that she's going to reinforce.
Yeah, and I'm gonna steal all the medicine from my work. It's like my first step. Steal
Smart.
I think my plan is go find Jackie's farmhouse and hide out there with her.
You guys are
Yeah,
invited.
are we all invited? Okay, good.
Yeah, but there are jobs, and
Yeah,
no one gives Austin a gun because she'll just shoot me.
only if you try to kill me 2 times first.
Okay, well, I'm the boss. I do what I want. You're hanging with Mr. Cooper now.
Oh yeah, what was it? It's like, you be the boss down there, I'm the boss up here.
Yeah.
That's you guys
Yeah.
fighting in the farmhouse.
That's a really good line. I was like, yeah, Ben, lay down the law. You can only have one boss.
One Ben line that I really did not care for was when Barbara finally started to talk, and he's like, why don't you just keep calm? I think you should just calm down. Ben, she's just started talking. Let's let her have a moment.
You were trying to
And
draw
also
her out of her shell.
Yeah, and she's not uncalm right now. Like, she's still pretty comatose.
His face is pretty funny, though. He's just, like, kind of rolling his eyes. Like, all right, yeah, I get it. We all have troubles. We have problems. Like, can you nail something while you're... No? Okay, great.
When she's telling her story and he's like rolling her eyes at her and being like, okay, calm down, that's enough. She's like retelling the first 10 minutes of the movie that we already saw. So I'm like also rolling my eyes where I'm like, I know, Barbara. I know what Johnny said to you.
We were there with you. It's fine. I do respect, though, the one, like, at first, when I thought Barbara was going to be a good character, because the first thing she does when she gets in the house is grab a knife. And I was like, good for you. Get something to defend yourself. Figure it out. And from that point, it's all downhill. She just sucks.
Yeah, then she's like, I'm just going to lie on the couch and play with this doily.
Yeah. It makes a lot
So
more sense if
weird.
she's slowly dying and becoming a zombie, but if she's not, it's unexcusable behavior.
Yeah, do we have anything else we need to talk about, or should we get into like some quotes?
Quotes, you guys. Not a lot. Just gonna say that. I have 2.
Good.
So, the first one is, even I recognize this to be an iconic line. They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Yeah.
I was like, why do I know that? I feel like a lot of pop culture references finally clicked in my head, but I can't pinpoint any of them.
Did you get the pop culture reference from Shaun of the Dead?
No. I have
When
to go
they're
back and
on
watch it again.
the phone with Simon Pegg's mom, and he's like, we're going to come collect you, blah, blah, blah. And she's just like, oh, don't be any bother. And then kind of Nick Frost takes the phone and he's like, we're coming to get you,
Coming to
Barbara.
get you, Barbara.
Aw.
That's amazing.
I need to rewatch
Aw.
that movie.
Dude, you guys come over to my house, we'll watch it. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great one.
And then the only other quote I have is when they were interviewing the sheriff or whatever, he goes, they're dead. They're all messed up. And I just like, nice, succinct, to the point. And that's all I wrote down. It's not quotes today. It's quotes.
So, for some trivia, I don't have any number guessing for you guys. I'm sorry. But the budget was $114,000 estimated, so very low budget. It made $5,000 opening weekend, and then eventually grossed. I mean, it's grossed over $30 million at this point, which is over 263 times its budget. So pretty iconic. I think the worldwide gross, I don't know if it's opening weekend or while it was out, was 236,000.
Nice.
So I also know that George Romero saw very little profit from this movie because of his, I guess, didn't quite understand how a lot of those negotiations would work. So distributors walked away with most of the profit. So that kind of sucks. This was one of the last movies released in the US before or without a rating. So it came out in released October 1st, 1968, and then in November of 1968 was when the US rating system was instituted. So kids were just, lining up to see this movie without a care in the world. But it's kind of cool as this would have been one of the last movies to have no rating.
Can you imagine being a child in the 60s and just going to see this?
It'd be horrifying.
Like little kids with their parents thinking it's like a nice day out. Jesus Christ, it's terrible.
Maybe
Although
me
it's
as a
called Night of
child.
the Living Dead. Like, what are you... I mean, I guess you don't know what to expect because there hasn't been one before. But
imagine seeing that little girl who looks exactly like your classmate and she's eating a person's arm. That would mess with your
It's
brain.
terrifying. Any work at the time that didn't include a specific copyright notice was assumed to be in the public domain. So I think, Jen, last week you had mentioned that you thought that this was in the public domain, so it would be easy to find. So I guess that's why. From what I was able to understand, maybe, Jen, you can correct me if you know, the original name for this movie was Night of the Flesh Eaters. And so that's what the copyright notice was under, and they forgot to change it. So Night of the Living Dead just kind of fell into public domain pretty much right away. So it wasn't until 1989 that the notice was no longer needed. And by that point, like, they'd lost out on millions of dollars.
Yeah, I don't know the details of it like that. Like, I didn't know it was because of the name change or anything. But I do remember kind of just knowing that they didn't have the rights for it. So they didn't make any money off it. And then also because of that, it is on so many, like, I have a copy of it that's on some like random horror DVD collection. Like, so many different companies, like distribution companies, were able just to license it. And so there's like
Yeah.
a million different box sets with it, different collector's editions with it, so much merch related to it because anyone could make it and make a profit without having to get the rights from the filmmakers. So sucks kind of for them.
Yeah, it sucks.
Oh, okay. Do you want to take a guess at what EW ranked this movie as for the scariest movie of all time? What number we're talking?
Out of how many?
I'm gonna
100?
guess 100, but I don't actually know.
Scariest movie of all time. And you said this was Entertainment Weekly?
Yeah.
I'm going to say they put this maybe at like... Okay, Jackie, you can go first.
I was going to say 35.
Okay, I was going to say higher. I was going to say like 9.
Yeah, so Jen's closer. So it was ranked as 13th, which I found very high, but...
Right? That is very high. So many scary movies.
Yeah. It was shot over 30 days. And when it started airing on TV, they were kind of afraid they were going to have a War of the Worlds situation with the with like the TV announcements and stuff, because they use like real places in around Pittsburgh. So they were like, they had to make announcements to be like, this is not real, this is a movie. And then during in the 70s, in certain broadcasts, they would have the word like dramatization pop up whenever there was like the news broadcast.
That's kind of funny.
I thought that was kind of funny, yeah.
Because if you were like just turning the TV on in the middle of the movie and it happened to be the scene with the newscaster being like, please go to this emergency shelter, you'd be like, wait, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, exactly. The Pittsburgh police provided personnel and equipment. And then due to the low budget and equipment restrictions, they rarely had time for more than one shot. So they just kind of had to rely on getting things done in like one shot and had no real way to check. So that would have been an extra level of fun. And that's about all I got. George Romero made the corpse that we see at the top of the stairs using ping pong balls for the eyes. So that's fun. That's all I got.
Nice.
The only piece of additional trivia I have, which isn't even really necessarily trivia, just fun fact if you were interested, is that this movie was written by George Romero and John Russo, I believe. And then the two of them kind of had an argument on how they wanted the sequels to go. So they agreed they would kind of split and go their own ways, but they would change like the names slightly so that they wouldn't be mistaken with each other. So that's why the George Romero sequels are Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Land of the Dead, Diary of the Dead, etc., etc. Instead of...
I didn't know there were that many.
Oh, there's quite a few. So that's why they're Of the Dead instead of the Living Dead, because then in the 80s, John Russo made the Return of the Living Dead, and his is the Living Dead series versus the Of the Dead series.
Oh, wow.
I thought those are all the same movies.
They kind of are. I think in Return of the Living Dead, they reference Night of the Living Dead. I actually watched the trailer for it earlier today, because I haven't seen that one since I was a kid. But there's a scene with acid rain, and I remember it scaring the shit out of me because I was like afraid of acid rain because of it. So I'm going to rewatch that one at that point. That's a lot more of like a campy 80s kind of slapsticky one. That's the one where you have the zombies walking around literally saying brains and stuff like that.
Sorry, which one did you say that was?
Return of the Living Dead.
Oh, okay.
So you guys might enjoy that one.
That's rude. Like, it's for stupid people. I get it.
No, because it's fun in 80s.
I do love fun in 80s. Do one of the zombies ride a skateboard?
No, but there is a Kickin' Rock soundtrack, at least according to that trailer.
That's amazing. Okay, I'm looking it up.
Is it better than the soundtrack to The Lost Boys?
Nothing is better than the soundtrack to The Lost Boys. Statement.
So, Jen, tell us what movies came out that year.
Yeah, so 1968, as we mentioned earlier. So the Best Picture winner for that year was a musical called Oliver. Austin, do you know this?
I mean, I know of Oliver. I can't say that I've actually seen it.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it at all, so that was a you question.
Yeah.
And then some of the other top movies of the year were 2001: A Space Odyssey, Funny Girl, Rosemary's Baby, Planet of the Apes, and Romeo and Juliet. Not Romeo plus Juliet.
Okay.
Big year. Big year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really
Yeah.
was.
I'm still hoping, Jen, that you put Rosemary's Baby on your list because I've been meaning to watch it.
It is. We'll get to it at some point.
Was Rosemary's Baby also released without a rating?
I guess it depends when it was released.
Yeah, that's a good question, Jackie. I don't know.
I could ask Google, but I asked you instead. You said that it started in November, so there's a good shot that it was released without a rating. Can you imagine?
Yep.
Oh, that would have been a real scary one to walk into not knowing what it's about.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if there was still no ratings on movies?
It'd be fun. It'd be the Wild West. No kids would go to movies, which I would prefer, honestly.
Oh, I would love it.
Yeah, I think that's it, you guys. I don't know. Does anyone else have any other facts?
No, I think that's all I got. Oh, we forgot to do high points and low points. Should we?
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, let's get back into the movie.
Right, get
Yeah.
into it.
I mean, I can start, I suppose.
Yeah, go for it, Austin.
I think my high was just the character of Ben. I really liked Ben. I thought he was a kick-ass hero. He knew what was going on. He didn't take shit from anybody, and he deserved to survive. So it's extra sad that he didn't. Also, specifically the moment when he catches Mr. Cooper like about to run away and basically leave him to the zombies, he gives him this like super awesome look. I don't know, just his expression was chef's kiss. Perfect. I loved it. And then the low point for me was Barbara. She sucked. I think we've covered that already, but she was just useless.
Totally useless. Dead weight. My high point was the news casting. I really loved just something about how newscasters present information in these types of situations. I've always loved that in movies where they're trying to fight their own panic and they're trying to stay calm and they're trying to give instructions during this totally unprecedented situation. I don't know why, but I can always put myself, like, I imagine being in the newsroom trying to give information and help people when everything is out of control. And I love it. I don't know why. I want to be there. So that's my high point. They also did a really good job of just giving the facts, even though the facts are crazy. I appreciate that. My low point was Ben murdering Mr. Cooper. Really didn't love it.
Murder him though. Karen did.
He died before Karen ate him, in my opinion, because he was reaching for her and then he collapsed, and that to me was his death. So it didn't vibe with my perception of Ben, and I get that maybe that was the whole point. Maybe the movie wasn't setting him up as a hero. He was just doing the best he could. But I thought he was the hero, and then he turned out to not be the hero, and I didn't like it. Made me sad.
I feel like I need to like clarify that I'm not advocating for just shooting people. Just let that be clear.
Good. Yep. Good caveat. I love it.
I just think he had to. It was a necessary evil.
God. All right. So I guess my high point is, it's weird to call this a high point, but the ending, I love how bleak it is. I love the fact that like Ben should survive and then he's just kind of like shot down. I don't know. It's so like dark and nihilistic and depressing, and I really like that about this movie because I feel like a lot of movies don't go there. And then my low points, yeah, it's probably Barbara.
Yeah, she sucks.
So what's your guys' overall rating for the film?
I think for me, my enjoyment is going to be lower than the quality. I think for some of it I was kind of bored, and some of it I just thought was kind of strange, didn't really understand some choices, I suppose. Nothing major, like nothing, like we didn't really get into anything. It was just like, it just wasn't for me. Zombie movies aren't for me. So I think for enjoyment, I'm going to say like a 3.5. I'll round it up to a 4. I feel like I always do half numbers. I'm sorry. So yeah, I'll say like a 4 for enjoyment. And then for quality, just because of its legendary status and how, it was the first one to do all these things, and it was pretty revolutionary, and everything we associate with like zombie lore stems from it. So, I mean, I have to give it a high rating for that. I'll give it like a 9 for quality in terms of what it is, kind of, if in terms of its importance and what it did with what it had available to it.
Okay. For my enjoyment, I'm going to give it 7. I enjoyed it mostly because I didn't know what to expect, and it took a couple turns I wasn't expecting, and I liked it. I would have liked it more. Austin made reference to this, but the pacing seemed very off. Like a lot of it seemed slow. I was really waiting for action to start. So my enjoyment would have been higher if the first, 45 minutes was condensed down to 15 minutes. But overall, I liked it. I do respect that they didn't hesitate to kill off the main characters, but it was so unexpected for me that it made me very interested to see what was going to happen next. And in terms of quality, I'm going to kind of go similar to Austin. I'm judging it based on my imagined 1968 standards because I've never seen a movie from 1968, I'm pretty sure. But given what they achieved with what they had, I'll give it an 8.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd say quality, or actually no, enjoyment-wise, I'd say it's probably like a 7 for me. Like, I've seen it a lot, so it's hard to like gauge how much you enjoy things because sometimes you're just like, okay, I know what happens next, you're just kind of waiting for the next thing.
Yeah.
And then quality-wise, yeah, it is low budget. A lot of the people in it were not professional actors, so it's not necessarily an amazing made film in that sense, but it is so amazing in its creativity and the way that it literally like changed the landscape. So 9 out of 10. All right.
Now we check the friendometer.
Friendometer. How are we feeling about each other? Would you save me from the zombies?
I mean, yes.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. A friendometer. Good. I don't hate you for making me watch this movie. I liked it. I'm afraid of Austin. If I accidentally try and kill her, she will murder me.
Accidentally.
Accidentally, yeah.
Well, like, not saying that Mr. Cooper acted accidentally, but I just feel like you wouldn't hesitate to kill me if you perceived that I had accidentally tried to kill you. Maybe I just froze.
Maybe don't like point a gun at me, and then don't like.
Maybe I'm pointing the gun at the zombie behind you.
Run away when I'm asking for help. You know.
Yeah, maybe I was scared. I don't know what to say. Maybe I was pointing the gun at a zombie behind you. Maybe I was scared. I'm not excusing Mr. Cooper. I'm just saying I haven't seen this cutthroat side of you before, and in a zombie apocalypse, it would be intimidating as hell.
Okay, so we're shaky. Is that where you're landing on the friendometer?
I'm still giving us a 10 out of 10 because it's not the zombie apocalypse yet. However, it's in the back of my mind now.
The seed has been planted.
Indeed.
Yeah, no, I think we're good. I've gotten over Jen's weird chicken thing. But
oh, Jenn, I forgot. Jenn, we are not friends.
I'm sorry. I like chicken wings. I don't know.
I'm sorry. I totally forgot that whole conversation. No, we're still friends. We're still friends. You do your weird thing. It's fine. No judgment. Go eat a body. It's fine.
So I think. What about you, Jenn? Where are we standing?
We are still all friends as long as when the zombie apocalypse does happen, Austin, you will drive me to Jackie's farmhouse.
Sure. Yes.
Great.
Okay. I'll keep some extra gasoline in the car. I'll get
good. Also, the cats are going to have to come, so.
Don't worry, the dogs are coming too, so it'll be a real fun time. Nice.
Yeah, sounds like a good time. So next week, Jackie, what are we looking at?
Oh, wow. I haven't picked a movie.
Yeah, I just realized as we were saying this, normally I know what's coming next, but Jackie, you haven't told us.
I think I might make you guys watch Demolition Man.
Yes.
Okay.
We got Wesley Snipes, we got Sylvester Stallone, we got Sandra Bullock, Future. Amazing.
Cool. Sounds good. I'm assuming I'm the only one who hasn't seen this, as per usual.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a classic.
It is a classic for sure.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. That was Night of the Living Dead. I almost forgot there for a second. What movie we just spent the last hour and a half talking about. And then tune in next week, and we're going to talk about Demolition Man. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at I Hate Your Taste and on Instagram at Hate Your Taste Pod. And if you like what you're hearing, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. And we release new episodes every Tuesday. So thanks for listening. Bye.